I'm Mandy Feely Swain, and this is another episode of Origination Boost. And today, my guest is my good friend, Mr. Corey Cantrell out of Georgia. So expect lots of Southern accents and a lot of fun. Corey's been in the business a long time, like me. He's a road warrior, a lone warrior, and I asked him to be on the show because he gives easy advice for loan officers to follow. And this year, his message has just been keep it simple and get back to basics, right?
Yes, ma'am. And first of all, let me just say how grateful I am to be on your podcast. You and Corey mean the world to me. When I found you guys 2.5 years ago, it was like I ran into my own family, and you and I had a lot of the same mindsets as far as growing up LOs, coaching LOs, things of that nature. And it just felt like a good fit, a good home for me. And couldn't tell you how much I appreciate what you guys have done for me personally. It's not only has it pushed me to the next level, but it's actually pushed me out of my comfort zone, which sometimes you need to be great and to go to that next level. And I think you two guys inspire us every day by just showing up full of energy and just wanting the best out of people. And that's just kind of how I tried to approach my career is, hey, let me just give back with my knowledge and experience, whatever that looks like. I'm not a very smart guy, so keep it simple it kind of resonates with me.
That is not true. I know it. That is not true. But yes, you are humble. That is one of my favorite characteristics of you is that you're very humble. So yes, I love that. And so you do give a message that you want to be a frontline leader. That's where we align. We both agree that, in this market that's been challenging the last few years, that frontline leadership really is so critical to loan officers. And you're doing that every day by giving them simple tools that they can follow, that they can stay on track and win business and gain confidence, right? Because that's a lot of it. People have feel like they got kicked in the teeth the last few years. So just getting back to basics, getting confidence in your business, I think has been something that you've been key in helping your team there in Georgia and really the Southeast that you help lead down there, manage through any market,
Yeah, and I think you and I have both been through the ups and downs. I mean, we both started early or late 90s, early 2000s. We rode that 04, 05, 06 boom. We rode the 08, 9 crash, right? And come out on the other side of it better because of it. And I think it's just the grit that you and I have that, like, no matter what the market is, we're going to wake up every day and we're going to work hard. And we may not see the fruits of our labor today, but we know down the road, just waking up and showing up, as you like to say, gets you to where you want to be. And so I think both of us really tell our loan officers, hey, don't focus on the results so much, focus on the process and love to learn the process of the mortgage business. The results will come. Right. And that's
absolutely.
It's the same way with dieting. I have to tell myself, look, and working out, just because you're not seeing results, just the fact you're showing up every morning and working out and eating right, and every small decision that you make has an impact later down the road, the results will come. Right. And right. I think both of us believe that.
Yeah, darn it. You can't be Superman and get in the booth and just spin around and magically come out from Clark Kent to Superman. The world does not work like that. Weight loss doesn't work like that. The mortgage business doesn't work like that. Probably any sales job that you are going to be, at the top of your game doesn't work like that. It really is about the nuts and bolts of the business. And that's your message today, is just really keep it simple and get back to basics. And what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, so I think, Mandy, one thing that when I was originated early in my career, I just always loved to coach loan officers on, whatever that success looks like to people. It looks different for everyone. But what I loved about just personally was I've been on commission since I was 21. So never knew any other way, right? But it gave me an entrepreneurial mindset that I had to bet on myself. And coming from the background that I came from, not a lot of means, we were living paycheck to paycheck growing up, just worrying about supper that night, right?
The basics, yeah.
Just getting through life on a day-to-day basis was hard. But this industry taught me that I could bet on myself, and it was limitless. The potential was limitless. If I wanted to go make millions of dollars, I could, right? And so that's what I really loved about the mortgage industry. And that's what I try to coach is, hey, the opportunity is limitless. It's up to your potential and how hard you're willing to work, what you're able to obtain in this industry. And I think it's one of the very few industries you can go make millions of dollars if that's what you aspire to.
That's what you just, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that we're really blessed to be in an industry that has unlimited earning potential, and the unlimited is based on your ability to show up daily, do the things, the hard work, the gritty work, the non-sexy work of this business, the non-glamorous work of this business, and then the results show. And I think something you said is key is if you are focused on the results, you're focused on the wrong thing. And that will disappoint a loan officer more than anything I can ever see in this business. If you're always focused on the results, obviously I believe in results. I like having an end game. I like having a scoreboard. I like all that. But I agree with you that if we're focused on the results, you're not focusing on the right thing, because those results sometimes can be, they're farther out, right? And so sometimes people find that they get lost in that shuffle of looking for the result, and they get disenfranchised with the business. And I've seen them exit. Even high talented, smart individuals exit because they are so hyper focused on that result based, and that they're going to succeed right away, versus being focused on the basics like you talk about, right? And the daily items that they can win at. What are some daily items that you would say that they could focus on so they can feel like they win on a daily?
Yeah. So one good thing about it, I just saw this stat last week, and it said like in 2021, there was 400 and something thousand loan officers in this industry, right? Now there's only 60, in the mid 60s of loan officers. So one, we've eliminated a ton of competition, right? And so the good thing about that is, yeah, there may be less loans than there were in 21, but there's a ton less loan officers. So what I had to realize, and what I loved about when I met you, was Origination Boost was just coming to fruition at that point.
Yep.
And I think me and you kind of aligned in our aspect of, hey, you got to have a business plan. You got to do it the same way every time. You got to have metrics that you can track on a daily basis. And so when I was introduced to Origination Boost, I thought this is exactly what the industry needs, is because it was what I was teaching. I just didn't have the vision that you had to have an app, to have a book where you we were using Excel sheets back then, right, to track all of our leads and credit pulls and underwrites. And so I think what Origination Boost has done for us and our team is it's given us a tracking mechanism to, I hate the word accountability.
Yeah, it's like the big bad A word, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really likes that word, but it's a great word once you realize that it can really propel your business to greatness. Once you submit to the word accountability, a lot of people are like, that's just, it's awful. It just sounds awful, right? It sounds like homework. It sounds like cleaning my room. It sounds like all the bad things. But I think that those of us that have learned to survive this business and win in any market are very accustomed to accountability, are accustomed to leaning into our accountability and making ourselves even more accountable when the market gets harder. And so I encourage those of you that are listening to say, okay, the A word is my new favorite word, no longer my nemesis. And I will lean into it, especially when I feel like the market's harder or when I have a setback. go back to the basics of the business, right? Calling agents, sending thank you cards, attending open houses. I mean, calling your database, calling your pre-approved and looking clients. I mean, all of those basic things that sound so easy get missed so much. And so when Mr. Cantrell and I say lean into the basics, we're saying lean into the basics. It's very easy things. And on your worst days, my advice is just to do small tasks that move the needle for you. Even the smallest task on your hardest day will be better than nothing, right? And analysis paralysis, just like stopping where you're at, is part of the problem we see. I mean, you see a lot of LOs that have greatness in them, but they just stop because they get paralyzed in whatever the emotion is at that moment. Right?
Yeah, I think you and I say this a lot. Look, just win the day. Win the daily task and judge your day on those, not on the necessarily the results that are coming from those. If you're winning the day and you're winning those daily disciplines, you're going to win. It's just the way it is. And I think to just talk about what you were mentioning earlier, I think a lot of loan officers just get caught up in, this business is overwhelming. You think you have to be everything to everybody, and you think you have to do everything from marketing, calling realtors, referral sources, doing social videos. I've got to be a loan technician. I've got to be a good spouse, a good parent. And a lot of times it's like, it just feels like I have to do everything. And so when I say keep it simple, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is, look, take all the minutia of the business out of the equation, break it down to 3 simple things, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But if you can keep it simple, I think it just makes it not so overwhelming. So you have to have daily success plans. You have to be real strategic in calendar, when I'm doing stuff, when I'm doing things, and I think that keeps, at least for me, it keeps me accountable to what I have to do to be disciplined every day to make sure the results come down the line.
I love that. I love that. So what other piece of advice you got today for LOs out there in the universe?
So let's talk about 3 things I think you can master that's pretty simple. And just do these the best you can, right? 3 things. The first is, we have to be really good at booking appointments. Like, whether, how do I set that appointment, right? The second thing is, you have to win every interview that you're talking to, whether it's a referral source or a client. You have to be really good at that. And then one thing that I've always built my career on was fulfilling promises or takeaways. So anytime I had a meeting with an agent or a client, I made sure at the end that I promised them something that I could deliver on. And then whether it be a loan estimate, a product, whatever I promised them, I made sure that as soon as the meeting was over, I put it on my calendar and I would fulfill that promise, because that built rapport and trust and added value to them. And over time, they, most loan officers don't do that. They don't fulfill their promises. And so it just gave me leverage with my clients and referral sources that, hey, this guy's going to do what he says he's going to do. And I think over time, the more you do that, the more trust and rapport you build, and it's easier to, for them to trust you, right? So
yeah, well, that's always built on the next deal, right?
Yep.
I mean, and you think about it in your life when you're buying something, or just think of you being on the flip side, on the consumer side, when they tell you something. It could be your dentist. They tell you they're going to call you, and then they don't call. Well, then you don't feel valued as a client, right? And so I think at the end of the day, that trust and rapport you're building is built on that person feels important to you, that you said something, you did it, and you followed through. And that's true of real estate partners. If you say it and you say you're going to do something, do it. Even if the news isn't good, even if you get a referral and you're working through that deal, and the client, their credit score isn't quite there, being able to close the loop, call the agent, talk to them, put that client on a drip campaign so that they are constantly being, I see you. They want to be seen and heard, and they want you to get them to the finish line. And then those follow-up calendar invites or calendar alerts to tell you when to call that client to follow up. I just think that what you said is so key to a lot of what we do on the daily, and that, wrapping up your day, wrapping up the commitments you made, really are at the root of it. If people can just master that, they will win business, right? Because there's most people, honestly, that let things just kind of fall through. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, in my office, I have a headset when I'm talking to people typically, and I have a whiteboard, and anything I promised, I just write it on the whiteboard, right? And then after the meeting, I go back and add it to my calendar or my task to do. And it's just a way of making sure those things get done timely and effectively and with intention. And I think that's one of those things, like when I talk about booking appointments, it's critical when you do get the appointment, you have to be effective. And it's critical to me that you have to be really good and practice with intention and preparation for these meetings, every one of them. Like whether it's your referral partner or a customer, like scripting is huge in my world. It always has been. Like we believe in doing every conversation, whether it's I call it my dreams and goals call. Some people call it a mortgage consultation. Like that script is the exact same way every single time. So anybody on my team, from the receptionist to processing to LOs, can take that call and script it. And so I didn't come up with it, but it was, just talking to true leaders in the industry. I've just taken all of this knowledge that I've sit through and experienced, and built my script around what works for me, right? And I think
you have to customize it. You have to take what you hear from great leaders and great loan officers in the industry, and then definitely customize it to yourself. I love that, and I love that you taught them to them. What's some of the things on that consultation that would be key for loan officers that are kind of making their own dreams and goals or loan consultation to really land the client, embrace the client, and keep the client? Because in a day where they can go online and get a rate anywhere, how do you do that? How are you winning on that side?
Yeah. So the first thing we always do is, as soon as the call comes in, we ask them. Obviously, I get phone number just in case we get disconnected. That's the first thing, period. Look, just in case we get disconnected, let me grab a phone number. Second thing we do is grab an email. That gives us the database entries that we need. And then the third thing, which is the most important, obviously, is we ask them how did you get our name?
Yeah.
Right.
Who can we thank for sending you to us?
That's right. And then that gives us a follow-up on thank you cards, emails, gifts, whatever that looks like. But what we really try to do at that point is really give a shout out to that realtor, right? Like, hey, you're working with a great agent. They take care of their clients. They're going to give you first class service. So we really want to build that agent up. And then we kind of start digging into, hey, tell me what you're thinking about, right? And then we go into, was this your first home, second home? What's this look like for you and your family? Tell me what you're wanting to achieve out of it. And then that'll help me better set expectations and advise you on which way we need to go in the mortgage process.
Yeah. What does success of this transaction look like to you? What is this? at the end of the day, what is success for you? Is it just the home? Is it a payment? Is it cash? What is success to the customer? And I think once you can identify that, then you know that the hot button of the consumer that you're talking to, right?
Yep. You understand, really where they're going. And I always tell my clients, look, I'm going to educate you, but my goal in this is not for you just to be a homeowner, but I want to empower you to learn how to invest in real estate and hopefully build generational wealth for you, your kids, your grandkids. And that's what it's about is, educating you, equipping you to do what you need to do, and then empowering you to go live the dreams that every family has.
Well, that's how you become the lender for a lifetime versus a transaction too, is by asking them what their future dreams are, right? And I think that your dreams and goals, if they probably come in thinking, I'm going to get a home loan, and they leave with maybe a bigger plan or a broader plan than they came in. Tell me, so if a client comes in and they're just like nuts and bolts, cut and dry, tell me the rate, tell me this, tell me that. How do you love them into that dreams and goals conversation? What's your advice to LOs on that side?
Yeah, kind of the same way. I'm like, look, you can go on the internet any day of the week and get a lower rate, right? But my goal in all of this is make sure you get in the proper loan program for what you want to achieve. Like I can stick you in a 30-year fix and I can give you the best rate that's on a 30-year fix today. But that may not be what's best for you and what you're trying to achieve that particular day. So let's talk through all of that. Let me get a true financial picture and try to figure out what our goals and dreams are from that. And then let me advise you. I'll give you 2 or 3 options that you can choose from that point, and let them be part of the decision, not just someone on the other side of a screen saying, hey, you need a 30-year fix at the lowest rate possible.
Well, and sometimes I think that's the other thing, advice I give loan officers is, and any good loan officer's seen this, you can get any rate you want, Mr. Customer.
Yep.
It's just a matter of what you're willing to spend for said rates. When you kind of love them into that process, because your goal is to get 100% commitment from that customer when they have that consultation, dreams and goals. What's your call to action to keep them engaged at the end, of that kind of meeting?
Yeah. So we go back to promises. We're fulfilling promises. If we promise 2 or 3 options, we're going to send them 2 or 3 options. We look at TCAs and total cost analysis and things like that. Typically what I'll do, especially if I'm still originating, is, I'll pull up a TCA, total cost analysis. I'll do a video. I'll send them a video, just one thanking them, for their business. Go through the TCA, circle the highlights, and things of that nature. And it's just an extra step that a lot of loan officers aren't doing. They're just sending a cost estimate over to them via email, no explanation of the loan estimate. So again, it just goes back to education. I've always been a big believer in being a lifelong learner. And so I try to educate not just our LOs on our team, but our clients and referral sources. Like, it's just human nature for me to try to educate people on what's best for them at that particular moment. Because when I was in my 20s and I bought a house, that looks a lot different than it does at 50 now, buying a house, right? Yeah. Now I'm thinking about, back then I was chasing the big house, right? And now I'm like, okay, my boys are going to be gone next year, and me and Haley can downsize. So
it's different. Your headspace is different, right?
Yeah. And so is everyone that we help, right? Everyone's in a different phase of life. And as you go through those different phases, it's good to have a true mortgage advisor that helps guide you through that process to make sure you get in the proper product that fits you at that time in life.
Yeah. And I think staying focused I think in any market, what I've always tried to do is stay focused on why the customer came to me in the first place. They wanted a home. They were sick of their neighbor. They needed space for their dog. They just had a baby. They needed another room. I think sometimes as loan officers, we get so clinical with the math part of it that we forget the humanity reason of the home in the first place. Like you said, you and Haley, your boys are going off to college. Okay, so that's a life event. You'd give up a 2.5% rate because you don't need this big old house anymore. You're going to downsize and maybe have a smaller home and have more time to travel and do things. And I think at the end of the day, my advice to loan officers is to get back to the humanity of the business and ask the questions about why they initially started the home buying process, especially when clients go, oh, I don't know about that payment, or my payment goal was X and now this home I want is Y. I think that those are things that you need to remember as loan officers, is getting back to the humanity of why somebody wanted to buy in the first place or refinance. Why are they wanting to refinance? It may not just be for a lower rate. It may be for a total debt consolidation or buying a new investment property. I think you've got to stick with why they initially called you. Sometimes we get too clinical about the process,
Yeah. And another thing I always try to stress to our loan officers is, hey, just on these appointments, be dialed in. Like, you have to be dialed in. You have to practice those. Now, you and I are both big on this. It doesn't have to be perfect to start. Just start.
Just start.
Right? And perfect it as you go along. So let me say that is, I want you to practice with intention and be perfect at them. You won't be at first. I wasn't either, but you learn what works, what doesn't work as you do these. And when you start getting referrals, you realize what is actually working. And then you critique your scripts or whatever you're doing to that. So it's huge. I think, you got to be really good at face-to-face. That's totally different than doing a Zoom, right?
Yeah.
But you have to, nowadays after COVID, you have to be able to do Zoom consultations, face-to-face consultations. I try to make it easy for my clients, like use Calendly for booking appointments. So it's just, you got to have a process, same way every time. And again, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to start and then perfect it over time. We talk about that a lot. So
yeah, no, I love that so much. And I agree with you. And you will feel like it's maybe if you're a newer LO, you'll feel like I nailed that. And then, 5 years later, you'll look back and go, I was a complete mess. I think I'm 30 years in and there's still times I think, if I was really hypercritical, if I'm taking a loan application, I may over talk because I'm so passionate and so excited about the process, and I need to read the room, right? I need to, this client, all they care about is they want to get in, get out, give me the information and get an approval, right? And they are already focused on that. And sometimes I see LOs talk themselves and the client out of the transaction because they didn't read the room. I don't know. When you're doing this, when you're coaching LOs and when you're teaching them how to have this perfect conversation, to me, that seems like that's important in that process, especially face-to-face or via Teams or Zoom or Google, whatever meeting, whatever you use. I think that connection that you make with that human to be able to screen share and show information or have them in person is super critical. But I do think sometimes we tend to, those of us that are very excited about the business get really excited about the business. And then we lose a customer maybe because we don't read the room. They just want the answer and get out, right?
Well, I think it's very important. I think a lot of salespeople do this, no matter the industry is. And I coach my loan officers, look, ask the question and then listen. Listen is you don't have to oversell, right? A lot of times we think we have to oversell. We have to fill in the void of things going quiet. But if you can learn to ask questions and follow up questions and then just listen to what their wants and needs are, it just makes the interview go a lot smoother. And what happens is the customer feels like, wow, they were heard, right? This person listened to me and they know what I want now, not what I want for them. So
right.
So
That's
just
really great
listening
advice.
is huge. Listening
And so
is
if you're
huge.
an over talker, my suggestion is get a notepad.
Yep.
I have one. And Make notes and tell the client, I'm making notes so that I can send a recap of this meeting to you. And if you're making notes, it's really hard to write and talk at the same time, so that you will be able to hear everything they say. So if you're like me and you know that you're excited, you love the business, you want to talk about all of the greatness, all, they're first time home buyer and you want to talk about them buying a second home in 30 years or whatever they're going to do. I think because that's what I believe in home ownership so passionately. But sometimes I have to just take it back and write it in my book and say, okay, I'm going to take notes. I'm going to internalize everything you're telling me so that I can send you a recap of what I heard. And I do that with agent meetings. I do that with my real estate agent meetings.
Absolutely.
If you want to sell yourself, you tend to get too excited. And so you gotta, I do that with my agent meetings. When I meet a new agent, I'm like, I'm going to take notes, and just so that I make sure I don't miss anything and see how I can add value to your business. Because I might not have an idea right that minute, but gosh, when I walk away from the meeting and I look back at my notes, I'm like, oh, we could do this, or we have that. And it just gives me a better chance to have follow-up. So if you're like me and you get super excited, get a notebook, make notes, and people, that's well received. I don't know. That's my advice for the day.
Yeah, I mean, that is so true, because I did the same early in my career. Like, I wanted everyone to know how smart I was and how good I was and what I had. And what I realized over time, especially with agents, how can I help you grow your business? Right?
Yeah.
Tell me what you need or what you're missing to go get another 2 or 3 deals a year, and then let me go back and put a plan together for you. And so instead of me going in and telling them how great I was and how great my team was, I was going in with, hey, tell me what you need from me to make your business grow. And it changed immediately when I changed just those few talking points like that.
Yeah. And if you're not really sure, I mean, you go back to scripts from the beginning, you really feel like that helps loan officers really feel empowered to have the knowledge base to be ready for those appointments. When I have agent meetings, and I don't know what you kind of ask about when it comes to that, but I ask agents about their social media. Are they doing social media? How do they feel about it? Are they marketing their database? Do they call their database? Do they mail their database, or sphere of influence, as most agents call it? I go down the different aspects, do they do lead generation? Do they use a CRM? I really ask a lot of those questions that we have in our business, and go down those very same things to see what they are or aren't doing, so that where you add value. I mean, everybody should close on time. Everybody should have great rates. That's what's expected. So if you're leading with that, you're leading with the thing that all of us have, not leading with things that ways that you can add value. And Corey, you and I would maybe do it very different. If we met with the same agent, we might have different ideas of how we could add value and have that same script all the way down. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I do a lot of the same talking points. Like when I used to go to, meet a new agent, I would always ask them, so what do you love about your loan officer? Right. And it was always, well, they close on time. They give me updates. And my comeback to that was always, well, that's what they should be doing. Right. Like, that's the minimum that they should be doing, is closing on time. That's what they're paid to do. Like, are they growing your business? How are they teaching you and helping you grow your business? Like, that side of it, closing loans, that's just what they get. Again, that's what they get paid to do. They should be doing that. That's the minimum. But how are they teaching you and coaching you to grow your business? And then I would always ask, well, how many deals did they send you last year? And it was like deer in the headlights 90% of the time, like, none. Or are they educating you on products? Are they, teaching you? I know you've heard of bank statement loans. Are they really coaching you on what that means and how you can utilize it in your conversations to convert clients? Right. And a lot of people don't do that. So we all have the same products. We all have the same rates to speak of, right? But it's how you are teaching your agents and programming agents and to sell the products that you have. Right. And helping them. I mean, you get them 2 or 3 deals a year, they're going to love you forever. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you do a
Absolutely.
great job at that too. I mean, I think the best people in the industry are always looking at how can I help an agent grow their business, not just, hey, send me your deals.
Well, most of the loan officers that I've met that have been high performing loan officers that succeed in this business do exactly that. They look at how I can fill somebody else's cup. Now, sometimes it can get jaded, and I understand that. And you have to be really strategic because there will be takers, and I think that's true of anyone in your world. It can be a
Yep.
friend, it can be a spouse, it can be your kids, it can be a family member. I mean, it can be an agent partner. You have to be aware of that, and once you realize it, steer away. But for the most part, I think that for my business, if I continue to give, show up, be grateful and appreciative, and add value to their business, that ultimately that's built my best partnerships, is those ones that am very consistent on and continue to try and add value to their business. If you are continuing to add value to somebody's business and they're not reciprocating with partnership, a true partnership where you guys are sending business back and forth to each other, that's when I'd say that they need to be released to the universe to work with another loan officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you an example, so I had this agent I dealt with. It took me 5 years to actually get her. I went to see her every month, sent her emails, called her. She was the number one agent in the county we're in. Literally for 5 years, I chased this lady. Finally, her lender messed up on a deal one day, and she called me and said, I actually stopped by her office, and she said, you know what, I'm going to give you a chance. So we closed it. She became one of my best friends. So, I mean, bought houses through her. She saw my boys grow up, dealt with her for 15 years, literally closed hundreds of transactions with this lady. And I messed up one time when Shred first came out, and we missed a closing by one day. She never sent me another deal. Now, she stayed my friend because she just knew me and loved me. But that's how much like one deal can make a difference, right? That guy messed up and I got it, and then we messed up and they got it. So somebody else got it. It can be a finicky business. And a lot of times I tell my loan officers, look, we always want to go out and build relationships and be friends with these people. And a lot of times that comes across as fake. I just be honest with agents. I'm like, look, do you want to be a friend, or do you just want to do transactions together? Right? This can be a transactions business. I'll do everything you need me to do and close your loans on time and help you grow your business. But I don't have to go have cocktails with you or whatever, right? If you want that, I'd love to be your friend, but we don't necessarily have to be that. I love to make friends in the industry, but I also have agent partners and builders that it's just a transaction process, right? I just do a very good job at what we're doing. We close their deals and they're happy. Right. So you can approach it in two different ways. Early in my career, I always wanted to build a relationship and be a friend to everyone. But I realized, hey, not everyone wants a friend in the mortgage business. They just want their deals closed on time and teach them how to close more volume. Right. So
right.
You can do it two different ways.
Right. And I think it is based on your personality and like-mindedness and compatibility. If that's the way you function and you really, JC Poole's a great example. Some of her best agent partners are some of her best friends. And then on the flip side, I have some agent partners that I really am in a business relationship with them, right? I enrich their business, they enrich mine. I don't see them outside of business, but we're very like-minded. So back to your agent that was like one little thing, one day off on a TRID deal, and you lose her business. I think that the lesson there is you have to diversify your business to have a true LO successful business. Even though she was the biggest agent in the market, she was probably sending you several deals a month and all of those things. Those are when those things are just kind of feel catastrophic in your business if you aren't diversified, right? And so my advice I love that example because you can't be perfect all the time. It's just human. We're human, and that's not possible. So I think that you've got to be like-minded. you've got to be able to be human. And if you make a mistake, be honest about that. And if the partner's not willing to receive that information and work with you and help you through the humanity of the business, then they're probably not a long-term partner. And you have to have additional referral partners and sources of business database, other agents, other builders, CPAs, financial advisors. There's so many ways you can get business, but I do think that you bring up a very valid point, and be very like-minded, because you will have a day that you just miss the mark. And it's not because you aren't good at your job. It's not because, I've been doing it 30 years and there's still missteps, no matter how great you are at your job,
Well, we talked about this, I think last week or the week before, but like we coach our loan officers to have different avenues of income streams. I always believed obviously you needed realtors, right?
Yep.
You need builders if you can get those. That's a whole different animal in itself. That past clients, friends and family, like organizations you're a part of. Always tried to have each one of those lead sources at about 20 or 30% of my business, because there were times when we had plenty of existing home sales that the builder business wasn't always where it is today.
Right.
And so my agents made up for that. But then as the market transitioned and there was less existing houses, then you needed the builder business, right? So always try to stay in touch with all of those and have it sprinkled in, and not just focus on one referral source group. And then my business was always like this, right? It was just always
Stable.
level, stable. And then, you hit a refi boom. Obviously that was just bonuses, right?
Right.
But I think a lot of loan officers just focus on agents, and that's where the business is. And there's so many different
avenues three major that you can get business from, right?
Yeah, there's three major ones that I look at. I call it the sphere of influence, which is your friends and family, past clients, current client referrals, organizations you're a part of, churches, chambers, whatever that looks like, kids sports. And then I have another bucket that's my referral partners, agents, builders, attorneys, CPAs, divorce attorneys, wedding planners. So you've got that. And then you've got a third one, which should be your advertising, your social, your videos, your Facebook boards, whatever that looks like, community events. And so I just try to get our loan officers, break it down into those three spheres, and then figure out how you want your business model to look based on those three avenues, and where you want to spend money and your time to go attract that business.
So agent builders, your sphere of influence, your pre-approved and lookings, your past clients, your friends, and your family. And then the third bucket is really, how do you advertise yourself? How do you show up in your town? What groups are you involved with? Self-promotion kind of. So correct. 3 buckets. I love that. And the other thing is I would say, don't chase everything all at once. You'll That's have right. These ancillary sources, maybe, your CPA that does your taxes, they send you a deal here or there that gets complicated with tax returns. I have my CPA does that for us. He refers them because he knows I'm good at that. And then I think that you're going to have major areas where you get your business, whether it's agents or a builder account, your sphere of influence. Maybe you're very heavily involved in a group, or you market and advertising your town on your radio, whatever it is. And I think that you've got to have 3 serious buckets you get a lot of that business from, with very heavy action items. We teach business planning here at Premier because we believe that the action items are where the money's made, not really even in the actual overall goal. Obviously, that's the end game, but the action items, the daily task, and that's where we do business planning, heavy action items associated with 3 significant strategies, and that's what we encourage our loan officers to have, and I encourage anybody listening to have, and then chase those, and you'll have those ancillary sources because you continue to do those part of the time. Some of the time you do it all the time, but it's not a lot of your day, I guess is what I should say in that aspect, right?
Oh yeah, I love that. So a lot of people will focus on one of those, right? And you can really focus on all three of them, especially with the technologies we have today, CRMs and social media. Like you can put all of these spheres on drip campaigns, text campaigns, just a follow up occasionally, just so you're staying in front of them. And it may not be your number one influence and source, but they know who you are and they think of you when they think of mortgages, right? So you don't necessarily have to key in on any one of those buckets necessarily. I mean, two of the three, you don't really have to focus on the two or the three so much as long as they know who you are. I
Right,
think.
right,
And,
right.
and technology gives us that ability now. So
Well, and now we go back to Origination Boost and
yeah,
why I started this in the first place. And that's how Corey and I are very aligned. We've enjoyed working together the last 3 years, but and you and your team have really embraced the thought of Origination Boost and just really putting, I got asked a lot of years, Mandy, how do you continue to succeed? And honestly, it all was around organization and doing the task a lot of loan officers just wouldn't do on a regular basis, right? They'd maybe do them when they got slow and then they get busy and then they'd stop doing the tasks. I encourage people to do the tasks no matter whether they have loans or don't have loans, because that's your future money, right? Those
yep,
tasks today are your future money. So let's talk about Origination Boost as we kind of wrap up the podcast for today.
yeah. So I think again, I think a lot of loan officers get lost in the minutia of the business, emails, texting, working on conditions, whatever that, trying to market, whatever that looks like, right? They just get lost and they don't have a plan when they come into the office or work from home every day. It's just they show up and they work in the business, not on the business. I say that a lot. Like we just get lost in it. And what I loved about Origination Boost when I was first introduced to it was because I was a systematic guy in the same way every time, it gave us a blueprint. It gave our loan officers a blueprint of, hey, this is what you have to do, how many times you have to do it, and based on the goals you set in business planning. And so I was an early adopter and believer in Origination Boost personally because it worked for me early in my career, just being accountable. And it's not really accountability so much as I say it's ownership. Like you're taking ownership in your
Of
business.
your business, of your income, of your
That's right.
goals, of your dreams. You have to take accountability and ownership of those on the daily, right? And that's what
Yep.
you did. You did that instinctually. That's just who you are as a person. If you're an A, B, C, D, E person, that's how I am. If you are an entrepreneur spirit like my husband is, God love him, but he can see things from the 30,000-foot level. And I need that in my life. And so I surround myself with people that are built like that. But I win because I'm an ABC person. And
Yep.
and that's what I thought of Origination Boost. I thought if I can give people a goal every day of what they should be doing, and it's up to the originator, but when you are in the origination position, you wake up without, like, you're not going into the 8 to 5. You got out of
Yep.
the 8 to 5 and got into origination because you wanted the flexibility to do it on your scale and your terms. But we built Origination Boost because it gave you a guideline. It gave you
Yep.
kind of some structure in your day and a plan and a scoreboard. I love a scoreboard. I mean, who
Yep.
doesn't love sports? And if you took away all the scoreboards, it would really suck a lot. So this gives you a scoreboard to say I'm winning or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
that's the reason I love Origination Boost, and I love that you can win your day. Like we said at the beginning of the hour, it's just you have to measure small wins and do something nice for yourself if you win, right?
Yep. Yep. You have to celebrate those wins. And, we've always told our team, look, we're in the business for making dreams come true, right? But we also have goals and dreams for our own families. And so, you have to celebrate all of that, whether it's helping a family or you achieving something that you're looking, that you had a goal or set for your
Yeah.
family. And I just think loan officers, going back to Origination Boost, I think, and you've seen it, you've hired a lot of loan officers. I have too. There's always that LO roller coaster where they'll market. They'll have a great month. They'll get in working on loans, and then boom, their business goes down. And what we've seen just with my team is Origination Boost has taken that roller coaster, especially once they get ingrained and adopt Origination Boost and the blueprint for success, that it's not a roller coaster any longer, because they're doing the small daily tasks that keeps the pipeline full
Yeah,
all
the
year
mortgage
long.
roller coaster is not fun, friends. If you
It's
like
not.
roller coasters, more power to you. But this is not a fun roller coaster if you're on it. It's an emotional grind. It's a grind mentally and in your pocketbook, and it's hero to zero over and over and over again. And doing those daily tasks and really gives stabilization to your business. And so if you're listening and you're like, what the biscuit is that, you can reach out to me or Corey, and we'd be happy to share with you about Origination Boost. And I know my good friend Candace, that's the brainchild behind the Origination Boost, is putting one out for all loan officers, whether they're at Premier or not. So at any rate, my friend Corey Cantrell, you're an amazing human, and I'm happy to work side by side with you every day. And I'm glad you were on the podcast today.
Thank you. It's absolutely an honor to be a part of this company. More importantly, it's more important to call you my friend, and just I love working alongside of you every day. You know, when you call me, it's one of those things, like I just immediately smile. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, the call, but it's like, hey, it's Mandy. So it always gets me excited when you call, and we always have great conversations about the business. And so I love you, friend, and appreciate all you do leading from the front. You don't get many C-suite people that are on the street with us every day, fighting rates, fighting appraisals, fighting underwriting. So you get it, and just appreciate all you do. I don't know how you do it all, but I appreciate all you do every day.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being on the show today.
You're welcome.